Hey everyone, my name's Drew. Today I just wanted to share with you this Greek resource that I had come across, and it seems like it hasn't really gotten much attention on the internet. It's not something new, it came out in 2015, but there's not really any videos about it on YouTube. There's a few written reviews that you can dig for and find, and I think this is a really helpful resource that deserves some attention, so I just wanted to make a quick video about it. This is the Greek English New Testament, UBS 5th Revised Edition and New International Version. So it's an NIV, UBS 5, Greek English New Testament, not an interlinear, it's a side-by-side. So if we open up to a typical page, what you're going to get is the exact text and layout of the UBS 5 on the left, and on the right you're going to have the 2011 version of the NIV. And that is, it's always left Greek, right English, which is a good choice. I'm glad they've done that. And just to be clear, you're getting everything that comes with the UBS 5 is here and in the exact same format and layout and everything that you're used to. So you have your full text critical notes, you have your cross-references, your segmentation apparatus is going to be down here. Everything that you'd expect, it's all here. And then equally with the NIV, you are going to get your footnotes. Obviously you don't need two sets of cross-references, so no NIV cross-references, but you do have all their footnotes, which is also very helpful. In addition to that, you also have, if we look at the table of contents here, all the front matter that would come with the UBS is here. So we have all the different prefaces to the different editions, the introduction, all about the text apparatus, and we also have the preface to the NIV. And then in the back, same thing, we have the table of weights and measures from the NIV, and then we have all the indexes that come with the UBS 5, and it's quite importantly, you have that little trifold card that usually comes with the UBS 5 is actually printed in the last few pages. So here are the principal manuscripts and versions cited, you can see, which is something you're really going to want if you're using UBS 5. And it's interesting to see that they've actually printed it in here instead of giving you a little card like they usually do. In terms of the binding and the outside of this, very similar to what you're going to get with a UBS text. So this is my UBS 5th edition with dictionary, and you can see they look very similar. The size, in terms of the footprint at least, is identical. No differences at all, except of course this one's quite a bit thicker. And of course the Flexisoft that they've used to bind these is quite similar. I have a lot more use on this one, so it looks a little different, but I think it's the same material, or at least very similar. You will note that the UBS has this gold sort of woven ribbon marker, and with the Greek English edition, Zondervan's gone with just this quite long reddish ribbon that kind of matches the outside. And I think that's good. I'm not a fan of those ribbons. There's a spine if you're interested. And so I do want to just kind of go over some things that I really like about this and some things that aren't so great. So first I just want to mention the size of this is really nice for a Greek English New Testament. A lot of them end up being very large. This is pretty much hand-sized. It's pretty thick, and that's what you'd expect. But overall they've kept the size to a minimum, especially considering that they've included all the text critical and all the cross-reference information. This could really have been a large volume, and they've kept it quite reasonable. It's very easy to carry to school, and I enjoy using it there, so I think that's a great thing about this. Another thing to note is they've done a really good job with how they're lining up and formatting the text. So just to show you, I'm going to go to Romans 1 here. We've got it marked with a ribbon. And I'll do the same thing in the UBS 5, just the standard version. So just so you can see, they are exactly the same from both versions. You will notice that this is that cream colored paper that the UBS editions have, and this is just white paper, what you'd expect. And then if we go over to the second page, I can turn the page and perfect match. And I've also really appreciated that not only have they not changed that with the UBS, but they've really been careful to match up the NIV with what the UBS has. So if the UBS cuts off a verse in the middle of a page, like right here, you get the first little bit of verse 29. They'll do the same thing with the NIV over on the right. So the second half of 29 is up here in the Greek, and it's up here in the NIV. So they've been very careful about how they've synced these things up. You will notice there are some differences in the headings. So right here is an example. The UBS has a new heading before 116, whereas the NIV doesn't have a heading there. So you'll catch some differences here and there. But overall, they match up very well. And another thing they've done to help facilitate the navigation between the two sides is these verse numbers are just excellent. So the UBS has really big, bold verse numbers, and in the NIV they've done something very similar. They're not as big, but they're bolded, they stand out really well. So if I see I'm reading in verse 14 over here, it's very easy to jump over and find verse 14 to see how the NIV has translated it. Really like that. Another thing, I'm very glad that they kept these NIV footnotes. For one thing, because you can see what text critical decisions the NIV translators are making based on this apparatus, because they do base their translation off the UBS and the Nestle-Aland texts. And so you almost get a whole separate set of textual decisions down here. And so you can see where they're not matching up. And it's just helpful to have that full set of footnotes down there. Some things that are not so great about this edition, because it's pretty thick, you will notice that as you get toward the front and the back, you start to lose some text to the gutter, right? So this is a bad example right here in Matthew 5. A lot of the English has gone into the gutter here, and you kind of feel like you want to pull it up in order to see. But that's not too bad, and the cover is designed so that it stays this way quite well. You're not trying to keep it open, but it props itself up nicely. So I haven't found that to be a huge issue. Another thing that isn't too great, well, I guess this just comes with it being a Greek-English New Testament, is that you can get stuck sometimes. Since the NIV is a pretty dynamic translation, it's something unique. You do get some help with syntax, but if you're not familiar with all the vocabulary that you're working with, sometimes the NIV is so dynamic that you won't be able to tell what word they're translating with what word over here, if that makes sense. And so sometimes having a dictionary like you get with most UBS 5 editions can be more helpful than having the English translation over here. But most of us by now have something similar on our phones or something like that, so you're not probably going to get really stuck, hopefully, right? But I've really enjoyed using this edition, and I've been taking it to school whenever I am going to be using Greek in class, which is pretty often. And I highly recommend it. I'm surprised it hasn't really gotten much notice, it seems. But I would definitely recommend it if you're looking for a Greek-English New Testament. This is a great one to go with, just because of the size, the use of a full critical text with the apparatus, and then the NIV having that together with it. I think I bought it for about $40 on ChurchSource, on an academic, and I'm happy with my purchase, so I recommend it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.